Pokemon is 25 years old today. That's insane. That actually makes me feel super, super old. Like, I can't even remember living in a world in which Pokemon did not exist. So today we're gonna talk about the simple yet extremely addictive nature of Pokemon's story and how it has helped it become literally the highest grossing media franchise of all time. Let's do it. Even if you didn't grow up with it or you've never been a fan, there is absolutely no way that you have lived on this planet and not at least heard of Pokemon. I mean, it is everywhere. It's on shoes, it's on backpacks, it's in comics, it's in trading cards. I remember being in school one time, some kid pops out his retainer and he's got a Pikachu on it. Like, why? So whether you absolutely love the franchise or you cannot stand it and you hate everything about it, you're in serious denial if you can't see the success that it's had. It is huge. It spans anime. I think they're up to like 23 seasons now. It's on every kind of merchandise, card games, spin-offs, and a huge, huge variety of games. And the games is where it all started back in the mid to late 90s with Red and Green, or Red and Blue, depending on where you lived in the world. Everybody was playing those games as well as the sequels that came out just a couple years later. I mean, I've still got my copy of Pokemon Yellow over here, the very first Game Boy game that I ever owned. And I personally have extremely fond childhood memories of going through that story and those adventures within those games. Now you may be thinking to yourself, Myth, what story? There is no story in Pokemon. Well, that's kind of the beauty of it. There's definitely a story there, but it is so simple yet so effective. I mean, really, when you break it down, you can explain it in just a couple seconds. It's the classic hero's journey. You leave home to set out on a quest, you catch these fantastical creatures. Your goal is to become the best trainer ever, and eventually you reach that goal while essentially saving the world along the way. You've got all these gym battles and mini games and obstacles to overcome, puzzles, battles against evil organizations. But besides all of these little components and elements that happen along the way, it's not about what happens in the game or where you end up. It's about how you choose to make it happen. I mean, as cheesy as it sounds, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. I know, super cheesy, but it's true. But what makes this specific hero's journey so impactful and memorable to the players is that it's not just some other character's quest that you're just along for the ride for. It's your journey. The character that you play is this blank canvas. It's this nameless, voiceless character that you project yourself onto. You name your character. You are the character, and it naturally makes you care more because you suddenly know everything about this character and their background because it's you, it's your background. And because of that, this story, as simple as it may be, is relatable to literally anyone who picks it up. But I think one of the most effective elements that they incorporate into this story is the element of choice. You start with a choice that will impact the way your journey will go throughout the rest of the game and story. Your starter Pokemon. Which of these three Pokemon are you going to take on this journey with you? But even after that initial choice, you're continuing to make choices throughout the game that shape the way that you play, that shape the story that you're experiencing. You choose what moves you're going to teach them, what order you complete tasks in, what team you'll build. There are so many variations that give you a totally different experience from someone else playing the exact same game. And because you're able to make all these choices within this story, you bond with these little characters and pets. I have this vivid memory of being in a battle against a super strong wild Pokemon. And while I was battling it with my starter Pokemon, my best friend in this game, the wild Pokemon poisoned me. And we had this crazy battle where we just barely survived. But after the battle was over, my Pokemon continued to be poisoned. And I just remember running as fast as I could to try and get to the Poke Center because I didn't have an antidote for this poison. And I just kept getting these little flashes of black on the screen, knowing that each time I got one of those, my Pokemon was closer and closer to dying. And if you've ever played one of these games, you know that running doesn't really exist. You're walking as fast as you possibly can. So I walk into the city and I can see the Pokemon Center in the distance and I'm almost there ready to save my buddy, and then we wide it out. My Pokemon fainted, which to me at that age was basically me letting him down, letting my best friend in the game down and die. And even though I was like 8 or 9 at the time, those memories have stuck with me forever, right? It was some of the first times I experienced failure and heartache. And even though it's on this minuscule, insignificant level within this Pokemon game, I still remember those things. That's good storytelling right there. You had constant challenges that would get in the way of your goals. You had random encounters, you had gyms, you had a Snorlax in the middle of the road that you couldn't get past unless you did this specific quest. You had rivals, and you even got the chance to name this rival whatever you wanted. A lot of people just named him Buttface. I don't know why so many kids named him Buttface, but it gave you the chance to name this rival whatever you wanted. So if you had somebody from the playground that you really could not stand, this kid that was just a bully or mean to you, you could name your rival the name of that bully. It just made it so personal, especially as a little kid. And the writing for this rival was so well done because you just absolutely hated him. They start out at the same point as you, they get one of the other starter Pokemon at the same time as you, and they're constantly showing up at all these key points in the story, but they're always there first. They're always one step ahead of you, which makes you hate them even more. And so when you finally get to the point in the story where you actually get there first, where you beat them, it feels so good. And the thing was, when you finally achieved your goals, when you finally got a badge, when you finally beat a gym leader, when you finally beat the Elite Four, when you finally caught that Pokemon that you've been searching for forever, it felt like you earned it. Because you did. And the story continued with those elements into the second generation games of Gold and Silver. Except this time you had a whole new region to explore. All of these new Pokemon, new creatures that you had just fantasized about, that people were kind of talking about on the playground. Hey, did you know that this character exists? And so when you actually saw them for the first time, it just blew your mind. In this sequel, you were still you playing as you. And even though you're starting off again in this new region, just like before, you project yourself onto this character. But the crazy thing is, and I haven't seen this done in any other game or storytelling, maybe it has been done before, but for me, as this little 9-year-old playing this sequel to one of my favorite games, you get to the end of your journey and you go back to the region that you started in the first game, where you've made all these memories and had all these adventures. And it's almost like coming home. You go through all of these same places that you've been before, but at the very end, your last battle, your last obstacle is going up against the character that you were in the first game. You're battling yourself and you're seeing how far you've come, how far you've grown. I remember as a kid walking up to the character that I was from the first game with my new character, realizing what was happening, and my jaw hit the floor. Again, maybe it's been done before, but the way that this was executed was just so well done. Like I've said, the story in these games is just so simple, but it leaves so much open to the imagination. The storytellers utilize this element of mystery where it would give you just enough information to let you build kind of a framework for the story, kind of what's going on in this world or what this piece of lore is, but that's all that they would give you, just a framework. But then you, as a kid, with your active imagination, would fill in all of the gaps and create these crazy backstories for all these characters and Pokemon. And these stories were being told back when the internet was still in its infancy. We didn't have all of the information in the world at the tips of our fingers yet. And because of this, rumors would flood the playground about secret Pokemon or secret areas or things that you could do. And there was no way to verify these things. And so people were basically adding to the mythos, to the story. There was no way to verify if it was real, if it was false, if you got stuck in the game, or if you couldn't figure out how to solve a puzzle. There was no way to figure out what to do, to just jump online and get a guide. You had to actually figure it out yourself or go and talk to a friend and trust that what they were telling you was legit. I mean, does anyone remember the rumor that just spread like wildfire that there was this truck and that if you could just get across this little piece of water, get to the truck and move the truck out of the way, there was a Mew underneath it? Yeah, that was totally fake, but nobody could verify that. Probably 7 or 8 years ago now, my family and I were up at our cabin where there's no cell service and no internet, and a bunch of my cousins and my brother and I, we all decided to dust off our old Pokemon games, and we played them side by side for hours and hours. But it took us right back to our childhood, right? We were experiencing those same things again, where we didn't have the internet to help us out. We just had to rely on each other to kind of figure things out as we went. And one of the other genius elements of the storytelling of Pokemon is that they always released at least 2 versions of the game. Nowadays, that would probably be seen like a cash grab or a marketing ploy, but back in the day, this was a genuine, earnest way to try and get people to connect in a way that they hadn't really been doing through gaming or storytelling before. Each of these different games would have version exclusive Pokemon. They would have version exclusive events that you could only do and catch within those 2 different versions. And so it encouraged you to get together with your friends or random strangers and trade across your games so that you could experience the full story. And that's something that doesn't happen very often in most modern game storytelling outside of Pokemon. And the music in these games also played a huge role in the storytelling. Every single one of these games had a fantastic fantastic soundtrack. Even though it was super old school, it really set the mood and helped you infer little bits of the story that weren't necessarily told outright to you. There's this part in the early games that's just burned into my brain where you go up to this old tower, and as you start walking up to it, the music changes, it starts getting a little bit creepy, and you just know something is off here. As you enter this tower, you find out that it's haunted and you fight all these specters that channel ghosts. And you don't really learn a ton about this tower or the people inside it, but the creepy music tells you everything you need to know about it before you even go inside and lets your imagination run wild, lets your imagination fill in all of those story gaps. You also got little hints of lore here and there from conversations with people you meet along the way or reading from the Pokédex about a creature that you just caught. But even the old school pixel art just gave you enough of an outline to know what the creature sort of looked like, but it was mostly left up to your imagination to create how the character would sound or move or attack. Because of the minimalistic version of storytelling through visuals and sound and little to no story points, you really got to bring it to life in the way that you wanted to. And because they would just set up these mysteries, they would kind of just tease these things, you were never disappointed by the answer when you figured them out, because for the most part, you didn't get an answer. You filled in the answer, and that answer was always satisfying. It's kind of like the J.J. Abrams mystery box, if you've ever heard of that, where he talks about the best part of a mystery being the buildup and anticipation. It's the unknown. And that's the biggest element of Pokemon storytelling that I think makes it so addicting and why it stood the test of time. It's that hunt for the unknown. It's the chase for the next badge or the next Pokemon that you need to complete your Pokedex, or trying to get to that next secret area that's just out of reach, where there might be this special move or legendary Pokemon hiding out that you've maybe heard rumors of. It's you going on an adventure as yourself, working so hard to achieve your goal. It's been around for 25 years and it's only gotten bigger and bigger, and it's evolved into other types of entertainment and storytelling now. Like Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go was crazy. Everyone was playing that, and that was almost the closest we've ever gotten to world peace. I personally haven't really kept up with Pokemon since Gen 2, but I will always remember the experiences I had of living through those adventures and stories for the first time as a child. And it seems to me that to this day, Pokemon is still utilizing most of those same story elements that they so masterfully used in the original games and stories. I mean, the fact that players of all ages, kids and adults alike, are enjoying this side by side is further evidence that these story elements continue to work today. Also, if you're jumping into the comments to tell any adults who enjoy Pokemon to get a life, you're the one who took the time to click on a video about Pokemon, watch the video, jump down into the comments, and then let somebody know that they're stupid for enjoying something. So who actually needs to get a life? I mean, really. But whether you still enjoy Pokemon today or you've just got fond memories of past Pokemon adventures, it's clear that it's not going anywhere. And that's what happens with any great story, world building, or mythology. It gets passed on from generation to generation. Now, Pokemon just announced a ton of new content that they'll be releasing over the next 2 years, including an open world Pokemon game that seems like it could be pretty interesting. So it looks like the future of Pokemon is bright. Let me know if you're excited for it, but also hop into the comments and let me know if you have any fond or funny memories of growing up with Pokemon or sharing it with your own kids, because I know I've got tons. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I especially appreciate the support that I've gotten over the last few weeks. You guys are incredible. Make sure that you're subscribed so I can keep giving you good content, and I'll see you around.